Moncloud. We meet again, Moncloud. It's a great name for an adversary. Moncloud, you stole my sister's honor, etc., etc. Wow, that hurt. Damn. Smoking some. What do we got here? It's gonna be a mixture of Cornell and Deal Sunday Picnic and one of the darker flakes. Unfortunately, I've been mixing all my tobaccos together to where it's hard to trace what the origin was. But this one, the font is hard to read. Dreams of Kadath. You see it in the light here. Nah, there's no way to see it. Dreams of Kadath. Darkfire, Kentucky, Caterini, Perique, Virginia, Burley, Black Cavendish. I didn't know that. I do like the. I'm a big fan of the Cornell and Deal Broken Flake, although this is not Broken Flake, so that didn't make any sense. Um, it's heavily topped, but it burns off quickly. The smell in the tin is very different from the smell in the bowl, and that's why I have a little bit of a bias. I know a lot of YouTube reviewers or just pipe smokers in general that crack open the tin and they snip it as if it's going to give them some indication of the flavor profile they're going to get when they light it. In my opinion, and in my experience, I rarely smell tobacco, to be honest, because I've learned over time that for the most part, there's very there's a low correlation between how it smells and the flavor you get. So I don't even bother with it, to be honest. It's still interesting to do occasionally, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like an indicator of pleasure. You can't really smell depth of a tobacco in the way that you can taste it while smoking it. Yeah, it is an unusual topping. Some kind of liqueur topping or liquor topping. But I always felt that way. I never obsessed with how. Oh, this is nice smoke. I haven't seen myself on camera in a while. This is fantastic. I should just host my own little private events just to watch myself smoking. It's very mysterious looking, at least. Um, Going back to what I was saying. Yeah, I don't know. My first couple tins when I first started smoking a pipe, to be honest, I cracked the tin open, I smelled it, and had other people smelling it. But after 6 months, maybe a year, I'm being dead honest. I can't remember the last time I actually smelled a tin of tobacco, just because I knew it didn't really matter. We've all smelled great things that smoked like crap, and, and vice versa. So I always had a personal vendetta against the tin note comments of any tobacco review because it's like smelling orange juice. What the hell is the point? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. Read some comments here. Innsmouth, I have Innsmouth in the house. Moncloud. So I've had Innsmouth. To be honest, I think it's B territory. I started mixing it, not because it was bad, because it just seemed like a good mixer, I guess. I've had Mad Fiddler, I think is in the house as well, because this is like the cousin to Mad Fiddler. I could be wrong. Seriously strange offering. Offering. Interesting. Okay. I had a couple bowls of University Flake last week. Some of them were very fine, very good. In that traditional University Flake, you know, purity, rawness, whatever you want to call it. But why do I have my headphones on? But I took 35 days off smoking in March. So my taste got kind of almost like a reset button. They almost got reset back to zero, which was well overdue, by the way. I should have done that last year. But when I came back to it after 35 days of not smoking, I got to admit, some of the again, I had University Flake. I wanted to buy it. I had a great time with it, but some of the earthy notes, the nuance that I was looking for, I have to admit, I did find it in some of the Cornell and Deal blends that I'd had for a while. I think what happened is my taste buds just got burnt out, and I think it's if it's possible to take a break, give your taste buds a week off. Easier said than done, but you can kind of rediscover some tobaccos if you just take a break from them. I also realized to smoke much more slowly, much more sippingly. Stratman, welcome. What's the last bowl you guys smoked? What blend and what pipe? I just got done watching. I watched Star Trek II again for the 10th time, maybe. It never gets old. I was never a big Star Trek fan. I've never seen a single episode of the old show nor the Next Generation. But I always liked the movies, which is very strange. You could be a fan of the movies, but not a fan of the show. I can't even say I'm not a fan of the show. Just like was not interested in even evaluating if I could be a fan of the show. But the movies stand alone as like independent pieces of art, in my opinion, independent pieces of film. And Star Trek Two is just stellar. It's absolutely stellar. Ah, some Hu Jaman the flake in my Smith House pipe. Smith House pipe. Not sure what that is. The show was like space opera, space soap opera. The movies were awesome. I'm with you. Yeah, it was. It was. It was an opera. It was a space opera. Ah, Stratman pulling out the Pennsylvania Boswell's Northwoods. My Cloud, it is the Wrath of Khan. The only wrath there is. Mm. Smoking out here in the balcony with my new Windows selection. So I can now smoke out here without getting mosquitoes or bugs bothering me. Corinthian leather. Hmm. That was a little strong. It has now been about 3 years since I bought a pipe. And I'm actually very proud of that. I used to have a pipe buying habit. Many of us have that sometimes it's hard to control. Getting into the hobby is it's a strange thing. You seek out pipes and you seek out tobacco, and both spend money. And so, at some point in time, everyone in this hobby tries to decide: should I spend more money on pipes or should I spend more money on tobacco? I've always been, for the most part, always been on the right hand side of that argument, where after buying a few nice pipes, I didn't really notice a big difference in pleasure and experience and feeling and emotion. There's a little bit of emotional contact when you see the pipe you're about to smoke, but for the most part, I'll demonstrate. When you have something hanging out your mouth, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It matters what it tastes like. And for me, that was always a very obvious observation, even from the get go. But I have to admit, as we all do, regardless of how good a pipe tobacco is, you want like a respectable looking pipe. But there's like diminishing returns. A pipe can be beautiful, but the more beautiful it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a better moment or a session of pipe smoking. So there's diminishing returns on everything. And I found personally over the last couple of years that I'm going to say, somewhere in the $200 to $300 mark of pipe costs. That's about as much as I would ever spend going forward. I'd like to own $1,000 pipe, maybe, but it's not really not a priority, I guess I would say. I like the phrase of a workhorse pipe, a pipe that cost a decent amount of money, but more importantly, the smiles per dollar, which is my metric that I kind of measure pipes in, is super high. If you can get a lot of smiles per dollar in any pipe, that's a good investment. I don't have it with me, but my corn cob with the aftermarket stem is still probably nothing can compete with the smiles per dollar on that. It's just impossible. It can't be beat. $5 for the cob, $20 for the aftermarket stem, $25 total investment. Can't compete with it. Can't compete. And I think every man has that pipe in his collection or her collection that is kind of the high ROI pipe. And you didn't buy it because you knew it was going to be like a high return on investment pipe, but you just kind of discovered it over time. That's the pipe you reach for more often. That's the pipe that you don't have to think about. You just reach for it by default. You're not worried about keeping it clean or keeping it pretty or keeping it shiny. It's kind of a low maintenance, high reward type of pipe. For me, I probably have like three that fit that definition of just like workhorse pipe. This would be one of them. They're Suryakapo. I bought two Suryakapos at the same time when I bought this one. I actually thought this was the uglier one because it's black. Nothing really eye-catching about it, but over time, doesn't matter how it looks. It matters how it smokes. And that's one thing that's hard to describe to people outside the hobby, is that if someone asks, like, what's your favorite pipe? It's easy to say what it is. But if they ask why, that's a little tougher to describe. We get all kinds of comments here. What's going on? It's like it's Halloween over here. Cobs are the future. I agree with that. One Simplex One. I remember that guy back in the day. 2016, 2017. One Simplex One has not been on a live stream ever, I don't think. Ever. Well, welcome, and thanks for chiming in. I'm going to take a random guess here. It's been a long time, so I want a little bit of leeway if I'm wrong. But One Simplex One, I could have swore he was Canadian, I think, kind of in the Montreal area. This is a Hail Mary, by the way. I'm putting myself out there. I just remember some cabin type videos. Seemed like he was in the cabin. When I think cabins, I think Canada for some reason. And by the way, the state of Minnesota is officially Canada. So One Simplex, if you live in Minnesota, I'm going to give myself a score for that one. Ran out of pipe cleaner, so it's time to go inside. Oh, here was the corn cob that I was talking about. Okay. There are the pipe cleaners. Oh, hold on. Let me turn this light off. Oh my God. I should just hold a candle out here. This is killer lighting. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to rearrange my my lighting here. Apologize. Give me a second, Strap Man. I see your comment. I just need to read it here. David, what Sam Gawith blends do you recommend? That implies that I've smoked Sam Gawith recently, which I have not, Stratman. So I apologize. Can you give me some? Can you throw out some names of blends? And from memory, I'll be able to tell you thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I haven't ordered a lot of European stuff in a while, except for Peterson's. Ah, the fireworks going off. Oh, hold on. I should have kept that light on. Simplex, which one? Sorry, guys. I'm having lighting issues here. My favorite video of my own would be the first Cornell and Deal factory tour, because of mostly because of the way that it went down, and the way that it was unplanned for the most part, completely sporadic. What you saw in the video was real. That I never really talked to those two guys before I got there, and kind of went off much more smoothly than I ever thought possible. Also, I really enjoyed. It's going to seem really dorky, but I haven't watched it in a while. But that video, I purposely kicked it off, I believe, with the night before when I was. Yeah, I think I spent like a 2 minute video in a public bar in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, talking about what I was going to do the next day by driving out there and doing the factory tour. And I remember exactly where I was at and exactly what happened that night. And I actually had as much fun the night before talking about it as I did next day when I actually did it. Because it seemed like it's going to sound really stupid, but it sounded like it seemed like a real adventure. I never did an interview um, that was going to be on YouTube, or an interview of any kind, to be honest. Driving out to Nowheresville, North Carolina, it was like I remember I had like a small amount of goosebumps in nervous energy, but like a positive nervous energy, kind of an anticipation of what it was going to be like. And it was the most unusual vacation ever. It was a great experience. Once I got out to Morganton, North Carolina, which is where the original location was at before they moved to Myrtle Beach, the Cornell and Deal headquarters. Um, After the interview, I hung out in Morganton or Morgantown. I forget how it's pronounced actually. I put my road bike on top of my car and I did some road biking like around a lake in that area, and it turned out to be like a legitimate vacation. It was kind of a mix of a job and a vacation. The biggest surprise in that video, though, I really assumed they were going to give me tobacco, even just a sample, like a tin of this, a tin of that, even just a flake. I just assumed that they're going to be, hey, take a pinch of this, take a pinch of that, try it, tell us what you think. And uh, they were very adamant about they could not give me tobacco for legal reasons, which I respected. But it was so strange. I was in the middle of nowhere in a building filled with hundreds of pounds of tobacco, and I couldn't buy or get any of it. It was almost frustrating. And then, as my last comment on that video, um, I'm really glad I took a moment to ask a question on Match's A60's behalf about Hunnam Bookshop, I think. And I wanted to pay him that respect of asking them a question that I knew that he would want to ask. And that was, I knew they didn't know who he was, which is strange because he was probably, at that time, which is about 5 years ago now. Matches 860, John, was probably, although they didn't know it, probably one of their biggest marketing assets, because he had talked about Cornell and Deal for so long before they really even knew who he was. That's actually how I found out about Cornell and Deal. I never would have been at that factory unless a year prior I would have watched Match's videos. Very strange how it all kind of connects. I didn't smoke a pipe. I watched Matches. A year later, I'm in the factory interviewing the owners, asking questions that I thought Matches would want to ask. It was a beautiful experience. It all happened so quickly. I sometimes forget about how smooth that it was. It is the Matches effect. But it all happened very, very quickly. Everything does connect. I agree. Eddie's here? I didn't see Eddie. Old Hollywood Briar says, I always get free stuff. At the Sutliff tour, I came out with 5 or 6 bags of tobacco. That was in Richmond, Virginia. Was that last October? Because I was at that Sutliff pipe meet up there. Although I didn't go on the factory tour. Chip, welcome. Todd Arnold. There's some new people chiming in here I've never seen before. Todd, tell me where you're at, what state, and what do you smoked most recently? I'm smoking much more slowly these days. Like this, Dreams of Kadith, very nuanced. Very, very nuanced. You know, Cornell and Deal, they have occasionally, occasionally, they have some real standouts that no other blender can really replicate. Yes, it's a little rough. It's always a little rough. It's rough around the edges. When you're smoking Cornell and Deal, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be silky smooth. But some of us, not all of us, but some of us like those rough edges. And that's what Cornell and Deal delivers. A lot of people still reflect on the other American tobacco maker that went out of business about 5 years ago, McClellan. I was never a McClellan fan. I've said that many times before. It's nothing new. But it's kind of a rawness to C&D, whereas McClelland, the few blends that I did smoke back in the day, they were so polished and so well-rounded and so smooth that I kind of found them boring personally. Boring's probably that's not the right word. Not boring, just I don't know, not. It's so hard to describe tobacco. I assume wine connoisseurs have the same challenge trying to use adjectives and words to ascribe the feeling they have when they're imbibing it. But McClelland was never challenging to smoke. Sometimes it was just bad. So I'm not saying it was all great, but it's just something almost like an obstacle course that Cornell and Deal blends, to me, represent. One of these days, I would like to buy a tin of Haunted Bookshop. It matches Honor. And I talked to him about this. What did he see in it? What was so goddamn magical about Haunted Bookshop? Because I bought a couple tins, and I had smoked it. I made a video about at least one tin, and I had some decent bowls, but I never reordered it. I never stocked up. I never bought 8-ounce tins of Haunted Bookshop like I had other blends before. But he found something in it that, thank God, all his videos are online. He talked at length about what he liked about it. I'd like to do the same at some point in time and reflect on, really put together a description of exactly what I like about my favorite 2 or 3 blends from Cornell and Deal. Let me catch up on the comments here, guys. Sorry. Old Hollywood, good point about the rough edges. Cornell and Deal is all about leaving the leaf in its natural state. Also a time saver and a manufacturing booster. I agree with that. TX. You don't have to go searching for flavor in Cornell and Deal. It's in your face. It's 6 inches in front of your face. It's like right here. I often wonder if I would like Haunted Bookshop, HBS, as much as I do if there wasn't so much talk surrounding it. Yeah, TX, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a fantastic point. Seriously, thankful for bringing it up. It's um, it's hard to control bias when you're smoking a tobacco blend. If you knew someone loved it that you respect, or just even on tobacco reviews knew that it had a high rating or whatever, and vice versa. You smoke a blend that you peaked at the rating and it was low, and so now you're smoking it with a negative bias. It's tough. It's tough, which is why I only look at tobacco reviews, the website, either while I'm smoking or after I smoked tobacco. That's kind of a lie. I take that back. Sometimes I look at it to buy tobacco, but I forget about the rating by the time it arrives. I hold on, I'm zoomed in on myself here. tomorrow I'm going to get on my kayak for those 9 people who are here right now, which is pretty good for this channel at this point in time. So I appreciate you being here. So thank you. But I bought an inflatable kayak. I talked about it in the last couple of live streams. I have a hotspot on my phone, so I'm actually going to try to broadcast literally on this channel tomorrow morning in the middle of some kind of lake here in North Carolina and attempt to smoke and stream from a kayak on a lake. It's going to be low quality, like 240 DPI, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I bought an inflatable Sea Eagle kayak. I got a trolling motor. I got a lithium-ion battery, so I don't have to paddle, so I can just motor out in the middle of the lake. I have an umbrella on my kayak. I got a Jackery 300 amp hour charger, and I'm gonna give that a shot tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It is. It's public water piping. I'm gonna type that in. That's a catchy phrase. It's gonna be low quality probably, depending on my Wi-Fi service, but I just thought it would be goddamn fantastic to do a live stream from an inflatable boat in a lake. I can't think of anything better, actually. Old Hollywood Briar, what's your all-time favorite blend? I'm gonna hit that question in a second. Give me a minute here. It's a great question. It's a fair question. So thank you for asking. All-time favorite blend. All-time favorite blend. Give me a second. All-time favorite blend. Okay, I'm gonna give a non-obvious answer. The obvious answer would be that which I bought the most of, which for anyone who's watched this channel for a while would know is Oak Alley, Cornell and Diehl. However, I'm not going to choose that one. I'm going to choose a tobacco that I've smoked probably 6 tins of, small tins, 50-gram tins. And we're all biased by some of those early experiences of pipe smoking, where some of the early blends, when the first time you had it, it's so transformational that you can almost never replicate it. And I've had a hard time replicating some of the aha moments. Aha meaning flavor profile, what's going on in your mind, burst of flavor you can't describe or compare to anything you knew before. So it really was an experience. And for me, the one that was the sweetest experience would be Dunhill Flake. I remember exactly where I was at in some hotel patio where they would allow you to smoke in Greensville, North Carolina, or Greensville, South Carolina, sorry. And the first time I had Dunhill Flake was like a Friday afternoon. The sun is setting. The sweet Virginias were burning in my bowl in a way, because I just came from Cornell and Diehl, and I just bought a tin of Dunhill Flake, and the smoothness just went from roughness to like super sweet, super refined, super. It's hard to describe. almost like it was pre-aged. But that bowl of Dunhill Flake in that outdoor patio of that hotel is something I could never replicate, and it really stamps out a memory. Yes, I've had the replica, the Peterson's version. It's almost as good, but not quite. Mmm. Let me catch up on the comments here, guys. Sorry. Old Hollywood. If you've never had Oak Alley, oh my God, get the 8-ounce tin. You can't go wrong. I don't care. There's no bad batch. I've never had a bad batch of Oak Alley. And this is out of, as of today, the amount of the amount of ounces I bought of Oak Alley over the course of 5 years. It's approximately like 3 pounds, maybe 4 pounds, probably 4 pounds. I've smoked about 4 pounds of Oak Alley. Never bad. Always consistent. Uh, Old Hollywood, Dunhill Light or Dunhill Flake? I've had Dunhill Dark one time. I'm not talking about Dunhill Dark. I'm talking about the blue tin, the Dunhill Flake that was around forever. Again, bought by Peterson, relabeled. But I'm talking about the old Dunhill Flake, just straight Dunhill Flake. Hi, I'm Stratman. I can't spell. Welcome to the club. University Pipe. Also, University Pipe, tell me what state you're in, where you're coming from. Thanks for chiming in. You ask a good question. University Pipe says, what flavor profile does Oak Alley have to you? That's tough, man. That's tough. I've talked about it many times in this channel, Oak Alley specifically. But it's a collage of flavors, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's the only blend where whatever you're looking for, not whatever, but to a certain extent, whatever you're looking for, you can find it. You can find depth. You can find darkness, meaning dark Virginias. You can find pops of flavor. It's kind of a very controlled carnival ride where I don't know, it's the most magical blend I've ever had. I'm not going to even try to do it justice to describe it because it's so nuanced, but also not in your face, and that's the biggest thing for anyone who's watched this channel for a while. The one type of tobacco I'm not a fan of is the one that's right in your face. It's just like sweetness, flavor. Like I don't want that. I want some space to explore the tobacco. There's one exception. The one exception would be something like deluxe navy rolls. Deluxe navy rolls, it's right in your face. And I know I'm pointing toward the camera here. It's so sweet, so grassy, it's so amazing, it's so refined. Tiffany cufflinks, room service, VIP, first class airline tickets, like deluxe navy rolls. It's right there, and it's just like it's Tiffany cufflinks and Gucci bags, and it's just perfect. But it's almost too perfect. It's almost too perfect, almost too refined, and it's great as a dessert blend. It's great to have one bowl of deluxe navy rolls a day or per week or per whatever. So there's definitely a role for deluxe navy rolls, but it's so goddamn pretty. It's so goddamn pretty that if that's all you ever smoke, you're kind of ruined because there's anything else will seem extremely rough and you'll kind of ruin your taste buds or ruin your perception of what normal tobacco is like. So I think the same methodology applies to beer or wine or spirits or anything, that you don't want to go top shelf all the time because it stops being top shelf. It starts becoming middle shelf. Tiffany cufflinks, nailed it. Thank you. I had green apple fig Newton, baker's chocolate, and light spice. A lot of flavors in that blend. Oh my god, I would never describe it that way because I don't know what apple fig tastes like. Tried Five Brothers today. Was kind of grossed out by the shag cut. Never had Five Brothers. I don't think, at least. I love Deluxe Navy. The amount of Perique is perfect. Hmm. I mean, if I had Deluxe Navy rolls right now, by God, I'd pack it up and smoke it. I'd be a happy camper. I'd do it 10 ways from Tuesday. But, but, I don't want to stock my cellar with it. I could. It's not a cost issue. It's more of now that I'm a captain, now that I have an inflatable kayak with a motor, I've started associating myself, and I'm being dead serious when I say this. I am kind of getting more in tune with the angler, the fisherman type of mentality, because all the YouTube videos that I watch now about kayaking, 80% of them are about fishermen, anglers, and when you start looking at life through a fisherman standpoint or angler standpoint, it's more about you want technology, you want the right boat, the right motor, the right fish finder, but you also want like the mystery of the challenge of finding a fish. If you had a 3D printout of exactly where all the fish were at, nobody would go fishing. So it's this weird part of like, I've watched a lot of fishing videos, guys, and I don't fish. I haven't fished in 20 years, and I don't want to fish. But I have a lot in common with fishermen, which is I like to be on the water. I want to be on the water quickly. I want to navigate around water. I like the aspect of being on a lake. I just don't want to catch fish. But I kind of found that all these videos are about like more and more technology, but at the same time keeping the mystery of you don't know what you're going to get, and that's it's interesting. Fishing and pie smoking are actually somewhat similar when I think about it that way. You don't know if you're going to hook a big one in the tin that you already bought. It's like shooting turkeys and what's the phrase? Is it shooting turkeys in a barrel? No, turkeys don't swim. Sorry. Shooting fish in a barrel or shooting turkeys in a cage? Help me out. Help me out with my analogies here. Shooting fish in a barrel. I forgot about it. A lot of my original vids are fishing vids. It goes together like peas and carrots. Way to go with the with the Run Forest Run comment. It did strike me as weird though, being on the lake as many times and watching fishermen with so much technology trying to catch fish. Any recommendations for me, guys? I've been talking about my tobacco preferences and what I'm smoking now. Has there been anything that out of the ordinary that has struck your fancy that maybe I should buy? And by the way, no English. No recommendations for English. That's the only limitation that I have. Some golden extra would be nice right about now. Fire Dance is a light flake with red hot. Oh, no, 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 no. Old Hollywood. Come on. Come on. Sorry, sorry. No aromatics. No, no aromatics. No red hots. I don't want to smoke red hots. I'm ready to watch Navy Roll and Escudo. Don't know which one I like better. Todd, welcome to the channel. One Simplex One. Correct me if I'm wrong. Even though you're not from Canada, do I recall your videos were like in a cottage type house that seemed like it was Canadian like? Chicago is close to Canada. I have a strong visual of some of your videos. I know I have Canada on the mind for some reason. I don't know, but if you watch Old Hollywood crack a tin of anything on his channel, it looks so freaking tasty. He uses special effects, that's why. Meant to say, I had Navy Deluxe rolls and a Scudo, but don't know which one I like better. Oh, Jesus Christ, Todd. Come on. That's like arguing between caviar and shrimp cocktail. It doesn't matter. You're you're living the VIP life if you're choosing between those two. Also, recently tried Cornell and Dale Night Train. I've had Night Train. A little spicy for me, but I smoked 8 ounces of it. Carolina Red Flake. Sun Bear. Never tried Sun Bear. Sounds too light for me. Mmm. Canal Boat. Oh my God, Canal Boat. I loved Canal Boat. I forgot about Canal Boat. That cube cut burley, that the texture of Canal Boat was so unique when you crack open that tin. It felt like loading. As a kid, I had a lot of BB guns and pellet guns. When I was loading Canal Boat, I felt like I was loading like I was in the Civil War. Like I was just loading pellets into my gun, my pipe gun. And then the Canal Boat, even though I'm not an English fan, Canal Boat had this like punchy Latakia mixed with Virginia and Burley combination that I know it doesn't have a high rating on tobacco reviews, but I had some amazing Canal Boat pipes. Some of them were rough, but some of them were just so unique. No other blender made something like Canal Boat. Ah, there you go, TX. That's the phrase I was looking for. Latakia Cavendish. You need some black and Cavendish. Probably unsweet, I believe. Yeah, toasted burnt marshmallow. I would agree with that. There's something Cornell and Deal. The one thing I'll give them credit for, not one thing, but they put they experiment a lot with unsweetened black Cavendish, which acts as kind of like a smoothing agent on some blends that would otherwise be too harsh. Yale mixture is one. I don't expect anyone here to have had Yale mixture, but that was one of their bulk only blends that was also very unique. I've had Durbar. I remember the tin. It's got like a blue labeling on it. Blue is my favorite colors. Yale mixture is a very old blend. Old blend. Okay. Durbar, Dunbar. If everyone watching could hit the thumbs up button, I'd really appreciate it. It would help future streams be a little larger. So if possible, if you feel like it, hit that button. I feel like reaching for one of the old pipes, one of the big pipes, one of the huge pipes that I rarely smoke. I think it's time we grab that. Could be a Ronaldo. Could be a Sir Jacopo. I think I'm going to grab the Ronaldo. All right, we'll head back inside. Here's a view of the main room that I live in. Jesus, I need to dye my hair. This is way too white now. So one good thing about getting older, you don't have to cut your hair nearly as often. Oh, crap. I got some old stuff in here I forgot about. We got some Paredes. I totally forgot about Paredes. Pashkent. Oh, wow. We got all kinds of stuff back here. 333. I'm not sure I'm in the mood for Paredes. That is, you need to be in the mood for Paredes. Let's try this. Sorry. I don't know what was in here. This is the giant Sir Jacopo. Masher. This is the Maxima Maxima. Which you can see right there. I smoked this probably 20 times in my life at this point. Time to give it another shot. Let's do, I'll show you what I got here. I got Opening Night by Cornell and Deal. Sunday Picnic. We're going to do Opening Night. I usually mix Opening Night, but There's just enough in here to try. Straight. Opening night. It's got a high rating on tobaccoreviews.com. I talked about my own troubled history with this blend, which is based on one sample. But it stuck with me. So I'm always a little hesitant about smoking this, even though it has a 3.3 on the Tobacco Reviews. It is a beautiful pipe, though. This is the, if I was a private investigator, you can see the J there for Sri Akapo. But if I was a private investigator, this is the pipe I would smoke. Where were you on the night of February 22nd? You can't clench that thing, though. It's way too heavy. Jesus. Even just clenching it, walking out. I think I just cracked open 2 teeth. Let me catch up on the comments here, guys. Apologize. Tashkent is in English? Tashkent, to be honest, Old Hollywood, I'm not sure. That Peretti stuff I ordered because I was trying to conjure up some Peretti's memories. I ordered four blends. I don't recall. To be honest, the Peretti stuff, to call something in English or not in English, it's so smooth over. They have so much, not topping, but they have so much conditioning that a lot of the blends taste relatively similar, to be honest. I know a lot of people love Peretti's, and I get it, but I'm just not a Peretti's guy. I'm not sure anyone really calls themselves a Peretti's guy, but I am not one. But in the name of science, it's good to experiment. For example, when's the last time any of you have had Lane 1Q? I'm going to assume. I think Stratman. It's been probably a year since he's had the Lane 1Q. I would assume no one here has had the Lane 1Q in about a year because it's one of those things that you forget about. We've all probably had it. Most of us probably had it. But you don't think about ordering it. It's kind of strange. And then you order other aromatics that are, quote unquote, highly rated. And then you're like, crap, Lane 1Q is better than this. All right, here we go. The giant Maxima. Spicy. It's spicy. Chip, thanks for chiming in, by the way. Chip says, I like Peretti English Balkan mixtures, but I don't care for any of their Burley blends that I've had. 333, I think, would qualify as a Burley blend, I believe. And that's the one I've had the most. Old Hollywood says, Safi gave me a tin of Tashkent when I gave him a bag of Penzance. That's a bad trade, by the way. Funny you should say that. Today I asked the Racine and the Laramie guy to surprise me, and he recommended their house blend Attar in the Fig Lane 1Q, so I had it today. It is a coincidence then. I have had Lane 1Q from 2013. Got out the shop, starting Lane 1Q is amazing. There's just no way around it. I can poke holes in any tobacco and do all the time. Lane 1Q, I hate to admit it, I don't think it's a better aromatic. And I'm going to go as far as I'll mention in a second. Let me light this up. I thought the best aromatic known to man was going to be Sillam's Black. I bought and smoked Sillam's Black about 6 years ago, and it was amazing. And then I bought it again. It was too sweet. But if you never had Sillam's Black, it is something to behold for a one-time purchase. It's a little much to keep smoking. So after Sillam's Black, I kind of came 360 in full circle and arrived back at Lane 1Q, and I'm like, if you want something tasty that has this beautiful balance between just enough body and just enough sweetness, it's not just empty Black Cavendish, Captain Black, burning nonsense. I think Lane 1Q has, it's kind of the king of the throne, in my opinion. It's hard to dethrone that king. New pipe smoker, intermediate pipe smoker, long-term pipe smoker. I think you could get a bunch of guys around a table and smoke Lane 1Q, and they could satisfy a variety of palates, which is very, very challenging, as you guys know, very challenging for one tobacco to satisfy different types of pipe smokers. And that's why I give Lane 1Q a lot of credit. Caught Blood Red, that was a big fan favorite of Jason Dagner's dad from the Dagner videos. I think it kind of had a Red Hots vibe to it. Never smoked Autumn Evening. Sorry, no, I did smoke 1 ounce of Autumn Evening, but for whatever reason, I never reordered it. I know it's the biggest seller on Cornell and Deal's page, as well as SmokingPipes.com. They sell an insane amount of Autumn Evening. I've only ordered 1 ounce of it. Maybe this fall. It would be great to smoke Autumn Evening versus Lane 1Q. Like, which one dethrones the captain? That would be interesting. I have a feeling it's going to be hard to beat Lane 1Q. For someone who likes vanilla, and I don't know, sometimes that weird fruit topping that Cornell and Deal does, sometimes you just don't want it. Sometimes you just want coconut and vanilla. Has anyone here had Sillam's? Any Sillam's? Sillam's makes like 5 or 6 blends. Black is one of them. They make a Sillam's red, Sillam's green. I think the black is the most popular, but you rarely see YouTube videos reviewing Sillam's tobacco of any kind, of any flavor, of any color. John Marr or Autumn Evening would be my nominees for best aromatics. John Marr. Is that a blend or a manufacturer? I never heard of John Marr. Chip. If that is a Balkan, then I believe I have and liked it. I also like their Royal and Century mixtures. Igor, welcome. A long time no see, man. I was clenching this for a while. I'd like to weigh this on my postage scale. MT, welcome. Cornell and Deal, Texas says Cornell and Deal, John Marr versus Burley, Oriental. Wow, TX. I didn't know Cornell and Deal released a blend called John Marr. Interesting. Adios, Hollywood. Opening night, it is fantastic. I didn't want to say it because I still have a bias against opening night because of my first impression back in 2016. But opening night, I get it now. It's a solid 3.3. It deserves all the accolades it's been given. I'll always be hesitant to reorder it though. This will never be my favorite blend. It's so weird how first impressions bias your long-term thinking. It happens with restaurants, it happens with bars, it happens with cafes, but your first impression kind of it implants I don't know what to call it. Kind of a predisposition. And it's both a blessing and a curse. If you have a bad blend on a good day versus a good blend on a bad day, you could end up at the same place. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching right now can relate that your experience with the blend is at least, I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but there's a certain percentage about your mind and your state of relaxation before you even smoke it. If you're really stressed out and you're smoking a blend, it's probably not going to be great. And vice versa. University Pipe, any blends you didn't like at first, then grew to love? That's a great question. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Igor, hello, sir. Can't catch up. The internet's been leading me to curious places, as it does all of us. All right, University Pipe. It's fantastic questions. Any blends you didn't like that you grew into? That's a great question. I've had a lot of blends that I knew had potential that I really rebought and rebought and rebought. But I'm trying to think of like something that I really disliked. And I ordered again and gave it a chance and gave it a chance, gave it a chance. Give me a second on this one. This is it's going to take a moment. I hate to say it, but I was so anti-opening night based on my first experience in 2016 that it's only recently that I reordered it. So that'd be one, but that's not really story worthy. I know there's something. You know what? The honest answer to that question, University, is that I think the answer is no. There is no blend that I dislike that grew on me. I think, as most pipe smokers would say, it's so much more common the other way around. There are pipe blends that you used to love that you no longer enjoy. The ratio of that experience versus the one you described is about 10 to 1, in my opinion. there's so much mental effort thinking about and calculating what am I gonna like in my next order that you don't have enough mental energy to think about the blends you didn't like to give another shot, because there's so many things you did like that you want to make sure you liked it again by reordering it. It's a great question, but yeah, I don't have a great answer for that one. I'm trying to think of a 180. Hated it, hated it, hated it, reordered it, and then did a flip. I can't think of one. Oh, the retrohale was amazing. The opening night retrohale is amazing. That is crisp. That is so damn crisp. The kind of feeling of the way I would describe it is like I don't ski. I don't go skiing. I don't go to ski slopes. But if you're looking at ski slopes smoking like a bright Virginia, this is the blend that I would describe to that. It's a very outdoorsy, clean, crisp air, winter air type of crispness. It's highly refined. Beautiful, I would say. Glenn, welcome. Igor the Terrible. I'm about to try opening night for the first time. The only thing I haven't stopped liking is HH Old Dark Fired. Old Dark Fired was a little strong for me. The HH blend that I like the best is a Burley Flake. Mm. The sucker's so heavy, you got to turn your cheek to the side to break the fall. It's so weird watching yourself on camera while you're smoking, because I haven't done this in a while. But the retrohale is so important, and I forget about myself. I don't. Every pipe that I smoke, I'm not retrohaling all the time. But when you do, it really unlocks a whole different chapter in the blend than if you forget to retrohale. And for those, I'll just demonstrate this. We got 10 people on the chat here. I'll demonstrate this because it's easier said than done. And some people here are new to the hobby. But the retrohale is it's a the phrasing doesn't make sense. It's not a retrohale of anything. It's just an exhale out the nose. I don't know where the phrase retro came from. Anyway, the idea is you take a draw and you exhale gently and slowly, but you close your mouth. And because smoke rises, you can just exhale most of it, not all of it, out your nose. So give me a second. I'm going to get this burning and then I'll demonstrate. Take a couple of draws to get it burned. And I'll take one big draw and then slowly exhale. In the last part, you have to blow out your mouth because not all the smoke rises. That was intense. So when you take a big draw, you can probably exhale out your nose 80% of the smoke, but there's still smoke left in your mouth. So that's what the last exhale at the end is, one last plume out the mouth. And Chip nailed it. That's where, if you guys aren't doing this in your own way, if you guys aren't doing this, you're leaving half the flavor on the floor, on the table. There's so much about a tobacco that you get from that retrohale out the nose that you'll never just get doing this. I think it's something maybe 80% of pipe smokers just discover naturally. You don't really work at it. It's not like whistling. You don't have to train yourself to do it. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But it kind of happens subconsciously. I noticed the first time, it probably took like 2 months into pipe smoking before I realized I subconsciously exhaled out my nose, and I got a whole different flavor profile than I did just 30 seconds earlier. And then I was trying to replicate it, but it's a good skill to have. Glenn, your comment is accurate. I would agree. Glenn is smoking amphora. He only smokes amphora. He's got a 30-pound cellar of the Clellens amphora out there in Australia. Moncloud just finished up some HU, that's German. Jannemann Flake. I love this stuff. Never had HU, sorry. Never had HU. It can be dangerous though. With strong blends, you absorb more nicotine through your sinuses than your mouth. Chip, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. You do absorb more nicotine through your nose. Not a bad thing necessarily. Glenn says Solani 633. That's the golden stuff. That 633 Solani. By God, that's fantastic. That is, if you have 633 from Solani, I don't know why anyone would would buy Orwick Golden Slice. There's no reason to buy Orwick Golden Slice these days. There are so many better versions of it with less topping. I mean, if somebody gave me a flake of Orwick Golden Slice, I would smoke it, but I'd be thinking I would just rather have 633. There's no comparison. No comparison. I mean, that's coming from someone who compares a lot of things. TX. All right. Got my first bowl of Oak Alley lit. Oh, TX. Dude, no pressure. I want an honest opinion. You may not like it. It's hard to assess a blend on one bowl. We all know that. But TX, I think you have a rich story there in that tin. And I hope you can uncover it over the course of that tin. It's a myriad. On that note, I went to a bar earlier tonight in a hotel that I'd never been to before here in town. I did what I've done a few times in my life. I asked the bartender to make something unique. 9 times out of 10, you're kind of disappointed. But she made me something, and it told a story. The almost like a pipe tobacco. It had a flavor in the beginning, but then it curved and had a different flavor toward the end. Kind of like the back note of the blend. I never thought a cocktail could do that. Usually cocktails are kind of unidimensional. It's sweet, it's sour, it's bitter, but I never had a cocktail kind of like take a turn and have like a forefoot and a back foot type of experience, like tobaccos do sometimes. Opening night, solid A minus. Solid A minus. It deserves the rating that it has. TX, right away, it tastes familiar to haunt a bookshop in Night Train. Interesting. Interesting. No one has grabbed it for 5 months now. Oh, Drop Bear has had the 633 blend from the Boston Company. My hands are tiny. No, it's a giant pipe, man. I'm gonna risk my dental work by demonstrating this, but that sucker's heavy. That's a heavy pipe. The only reasonable way to clench it is to kind of rest it on your coat. It needs support. This is not a clenching pipe. If I was a mechanic, which I always wanted to be, you wouldn't smoke this and work on a car. Glenn, how many total pipes, excluding cobs, would you say you have now? I'm going to guess 25? 30. I'm going to guess 30. I'm going to guess 30. I'm getting all kinds of pops on this, man. All kinds of pops of flavor. All kinds of flavor. This is the absolute opposite of boring. It's engaging. That's the word I was looking for. Engaging. What blends really engage you? Challenging. It's different from engaging. Engaging, in my opinion, would mean it's a blend that is kind of like you're smoking it. And it's kind of this tug of war back and forth. I'm smooth in this draw. I'm a little rough around the edges in the next draw. There's some pre spiciness pops in the next draw, and then the smooth red Virginias in the next draw. It's kind of this back and forth tug of war that it creates its own story. And so the blend you're smoking is creating a story-like experience. And I wasn't expecting that in this because I had low expectations of opening night. That's the kind of story I would expect with Oak Alley. But I'm getting a very similar experience here. It's a conversation. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm it's mostly accurate. It's a conversation you're having with this blend when you're smoking it. This must have a lot of Perique in it. I haven't looked at the ingredients, by the way. Opening night, it must have some Perique in it. There is some pops going on sporadically. $12.50. Oh, 125. Sorry, 125 pipes. That's a lot of pipes. Glenn, if I had to estimate the amount of pounds of tobacco in your house, I know how hard it is to get good tobacco there in Australia. I'm going to go the equivalent of 3 pounds, probably 3 pounds. Mm. Igor, check me on this, man. I'm not an expert on components. The only thing I'm an expert on is describing things. I would be, and that's why I use the phrase, I would think that it has Perique in it. But if you smoke enough Virginias, man, occasionally Virginias can take on the qualities of Perique. Obviously, they can't take on the qualities of Latakia, but it's hard to piece apart, almost like a musician. They can tell like a trumpet and a trombone, whether there's three keyboardists or three guitarists. If you just listen to music like I do, you can't really piece apart the components of the song. You just know you like it. And the same thing happens in tobacco. There's a little band playing in here of multiple drummer, guitarist, vocalist, whatever. But it's hard to piece it apart. And on that note, guys, I'm going to call the night. It's been enjoyable. I'm going to try to do this tomorrow morning. It's about midnight here on the East Coast of the United States. I'm going to try to use my hotspot, and even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes, I'll try to do a live stream from the water somewhere in my kayak, and that will be fun. Anyway, guys, I want to really thank you for joining me. Comments were fantastic. Engagement was fantastic. The tobacco was fantastic. So have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Take care.